In this video, I want to show you a quick example of the use of the AI in the decision element in Flow. In the Winter 26 release, you probably noticed that Salesforce added a Let AI Determine Conditions option. This is almost like a mini prompt within your decision element. It allows you to provide instructions to dynamically evaluate the data and decide which outcome to run. In other words, instead of building the logic manually based on fields and conditions, you can use natural language as you do in any other prompt to tell the AI what to do. In theory, that sounds super useful when working with unstructured data, like free text. You can't use a traditional decision element to evaluate unstructured data. Now, it is important to notice that the Let AI Determine Conditions option is only available with the right licenses, just like any other Agentforce related feature. So how do we use it? Okay, in this mini use case, I wanted to automatically tag a risk on a project for escalation if certain conditions are met. So just so you know, this is not a prod-ready example. This is not a prod-ready use case. It's just to show you how this works. So I have a screen flow to capture risk information, nothing crazy in here. And right after the screen, I have the decision element. So the first part in the decision element describes basically what you're trying to do, your main goal. In this case, we are trying to identify when risks should be escalated. And we say that by basically explaining what does that mean. You can and should use resources in here to give more context. If you notice, I'm using the risk name, I'm using the risk description, and this is the equivalent, of course, of grounding your prompt for AI. Now, a warning in here, if you add a resource and then you change the API of the resource later on, you break this. Like, it does not automatically update. So keep that in mind. Now, the second part is really where you are defining when to choose each path. So in my example, I'm describing when a risk should be escalated. I put some conditions in here. Again, I'm using fields that were populated earlier on in the screen. So I'm grounding this to tell AI when do we want to enter this escalation required path. So in other words, I'm trying to describe when a risk is severe enough to require escalation. Again, think about the same logic that you apply when writing prompts. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Let me, don't want to save. Well, I guess I will save. I will use the debug instead of using the pretty screen because I want to show you something there. So let's go ahead and kick this off. Oops. Okay, so my title, let's say that we have some delays for sign off. The likelihood is gonna be, I'm gonna set it at 4. And for the risk description, we are having some delays. So in this case, the customer is delaying the design sign off by a week, can impact the startup build phase, but we are not expecting any impact to the overall project schedule. So when I click next, you're gonna see here that the skip escalation outcome was executed, and if I check, it says the evaluated risk does not meet the criteria for escalation as defined on the conditions. So yeah, I mean, makes sense. We said that we are not going to have any impact to the overall project schedule. Now, if we go ahead and put a different one in here, let's say that now we are having some issues with data migration, and the likelihood is gonna be 5, meaning yeah, probably it will happen. And this is a little bit more intense, right? We have historical data for projects, time, expenses, billing, all that is more complex than we thought. We show inconsistencies or gaps. We may delay data migration. We may require additional rework, introduce code like this is a lot of risk. So when we click next, Well, it's gonna go ahead and do the same. And this is really what I wanna show you in here. Oh, this one. The reason why this entered the escalation required path is because the risk described aligns with the criteria for escalation due to the potential impact on project timelines, customer satisfaction, and financial outcomes. So the point is, with this decision element now, we can introduce AI in the mix without even building a prompt. Now, my take on this though, it still consumes credits. It's not free, so keep that in mind. Not only that, a couple of limitations. It cannot be used in record trigger flows. It may be coming at some point, but not for now. You cannot use this AI decision element in a record trigger flow. You cannot control the model that you are using. This is a big issue. I mean, we know depending on what you are trying to do, some models are better than others. And this reason, well, you cannot see that reasoning anywhere other than in the debugger. The debugger is not exposed. So that's why I wanted to stay in here and show you. I personally like exposing the why, so it's not a black box for the user. So for me, this is a big deal, along with not being able to select the model. So in summary, use it with caution. I mean, if it fits your use case, I will say go for it. But if you need more control on the model or the answers, you're probably safer using a prompt instead until this gets a little bit better. Anyway, I wanted to test it out. I wanted to show you real quick this feature in action. I hope you find it useful. And remember, you can always check out our videos in the webpage cldpartners.com. Thank you so much for watching.